Okay, great. So that's fantastic. Just trying to think if there's any key other things. We talked about not being a best friend. I guess the only other thing I would say about the how to be a great mentor is to, I know, how long you guys are going to be matched with your mentees? Do you know, for a year or for, do you know, Rory?
Still kind of feeling it out,
Kind of
as long
feeling it
as
out?
it seems to work for people.
Okay, so so for however long you're matched with them, I would say that in the very beginning, really try and focus on connecting first, okay? And even like in your first meeting, just kind of have fun. Fun is actually a really important part of mentoring in the very beginning part. Then you're going to establish trust. People can relax around each other. The students are going to feel probably a little bit intimidated by you because you've already graduated from school. You've got your life. You might not feel like your life is together, but they feel like your life is together. That's all that matters, right? So you want to do that first, and then you can go into more of the advising role. But one other piece I would encourage you to do is when you do sit down with your mentee or your mentees, ask them, what would you like to get out of this? What are some goals here that we both can agree upon? And that just sets a little bit of structure, which I think is important if you want to be as constructive as possible. Okay, so what time do we have?
7:48.
7:48. Okay, let's do one quick activity, and then, unless you guys, actually, let's do Q&A, and then if we have time for an activity, we'll do the activity. So any questions or concerns, things that are coming up that you're, as you're getting ready to meet your mentee, things that you're concerned about, or, yeah?
To what extent should you keep it real?
Right, how much should you tell them about the real world?
Yeah.
I think a good rule of thumb is before you communicate, whether it's over email or over the phone or in person, ask yourself, is what I'm about to say constructive, right? And so I do think, they're college students, so they are able to hear the truth. You know what I mean? It's not like you're working with children. And so I do think you should be realistic, but try and keep it positive. You can still talk about reality and be positive. But I think as long as you recognize that your role here is to be constructive, then I think that should kind of keep you in line. Does that make sense? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm the most recent graduate.
Yeah.
And when I put in an application for this, I was like, I would love to give back and I really want to help somebody else, but I don't really know how much they're going to want to hear from me because I'm not that far off.
Uh-huh.
I haven't had
Sure.
that much experience outside of college,
Yeah.
like 3 months.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know what to do with that.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting, and that's what happens when you get like all different kinds of mentors. You're gonna have people that have been in their career for a couple of years, and people right out of school. Both parties have a lot to offer. The people with more years under their belt as far as career is concerned, obviously they can talk about the ins and outs of establishing your career. But if you're right out of college, it's new to you. It's not new to you. It's not going to be as foreign as it might be even for some of us that have graduated only a couple of years ago. Okay. So the other thing is, you graduated from college, right? And so you did that, which is like, congratulations. So you navigated the process. It's fresh in your mind, and that is a real plus. And I think that you'll find that when you're mentoring students, they respond well to both. As long as you can explain that, I'm just new, but I can remember, what it was like for you, and I wish someone had told me this. Trust me on this piece. You know what I mean? I think you definitely have something to offer. Absolutely, everyone does. So, yeah. What else? Any other questions? Yeah, Miriam?
So a couple of my mentees aren't here tonight, and I know that the people on the camera are obviously not meeting their mentees in person. So it seems like a lot of it will take place by email, which is fine. But you mentioned it's really important to connect early with the mentees and also to set ground rules.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a little bit harder to do that via email. Do you have any advice?
I do. If you can find a way, if the mentors are really distant or the mentees, it's absolutely, if there's some possible way, meet them early and try to meet them often. Once you do that a couple of times in the beginning of your relationship, you don't have to see them quite as often. But if you can do that, then I'd strongly advise you to do that. Because sometimes, it doesn't happen always, but one of the challenges is if you only do things online, sometimes the investment on the mentee and the mentor side can kind of wane. So definitely try and find a way to meet early and often. Now, if it's a total impossibility or if it's just really, really hard to get together, then I think, I would, like tonight, when you're going home or, over the weekend, I would just encourage you to think about some questions that you think would really help you to get to know the other person. And then maybe think about what we talked about today and kind of come up with some discussion topics. And that might sound kind of formal, but I do think that when you're connecting over email, you need a little bit of structure and conversation starters. So I would, kind of start with that, like, okay, while we're working together, since we can't see each other very often, let's set up a time, like every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, we're going to email each other. That's another great thing, is to set up a schedule when you will connect over email, or IM, or however it is that you decide to connect. And then bringing in those topics, I think is another good way of connecting. Yeah, it'll be tough, but it's definitely, you can do it if you kind of add a little structure to it. Yeah. What else? Anything else? No? Okay. So I doubt we have this time, and I'm going to give this to you anyways if you just look at it later. Now, for some of you, you're right out of college, so this isn't going to seem quite as foreign, and for me, it's my 10-year anniversary of graduating from college. I'm still really old. But here, these are just some things. I just like, sometimes as human beings, we have, our memories are flawed, right? Like memory is not a reliable source of information, okay? And so sometimes we can remember our time in college with using kind of like very vague memories or glossed over memories. And I think it's really important when you're working with someone younger than you to think about the specifics of what it was like to be in college, because we have very convenient memories sometimes. So these are just a series of questions that you can just kind of use to think about, and why would these questions be significant? How can you help a college student specifically related to kind of your memories in college and your memories of your friends in college? So I'm just going to give that to you as food for thought. And then finally, the mentees are going to come down here in a second, and we're going to play a game where you guys can all get to know each other, hopefully if you have time. So, and one of the things you guys are going to be talking about is what you'd like to get from this experience and what you'd like to give from this experience. So if we just go around the room and talk about what we'd like to get, because mentoring sometimes, people think of mentoring and people think it's just giving back, but it's actually a very reciprocal relationship. So, why don't we start? Okay, I'm going to start with you then. You can talk about what you'd like to get from the program and what you'd like to give specifically.
Well, yep, I just want to steer one more person on the right path, so.
Okay. So to make you feel good.
Save lives.
Okay, save a life. Okay, all right. All right, great.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the most rewarding things, is to know that you influence somebody's life in a big way. Yeah. No matter what way it is.
Absolutely, and I like that you said no matter what way it is, because you never know how your mentoring is going to have an effect. Like, you could think, well, like you were saying, you're in elementary education, so you might think, okay, I'm going to really help somebody navigate, how to prepare for that field. But you actually might also have even more of an influence on another level, like what you need to kind of work out personally while you're in college. Because, you want to think about that, like think of the person as a whole person. It's not just a career, but the personal is connected to the career, because if you can't get this together, and this together, then, you can have issues when it comes to establishing a career and feeling confident about yourself as a young adult. Okay, great.
I think what I like to get is sort of correcting mistakes that I made through someone else.
Yeah.
So if I can help them avoid some of the pitfalls that was college or internships, that's just job interviews.
Yeah, that is so good. I mean, that's kind of the soft skills that you don't really learn in college necessarily. Although maybe you guys did. I don't know at your different schools, but like we can tell everyone how to write a resume, and even some sort of interviewing skills. There's a lot of soft skills that are related to getting ready for a career that we don't talk about. So that's another great thing. Okay, so anyway, keep in your mind what are you going to give and what are you going to get, and then we're going to do